Your little treasure is a picky eater. She would eat only pasta, bread, rice, or only meat, or perhaps only broccoli. Okay, that one is less common. Or maybe eats nothing at all. Nothing at all. Really, doctor, it's a fight at every meal. Now, let me tell you, this is such a common thing for us doctors that it really deserves a few minutes of debunking, because people and their insurance pay actually good money to see the doctor only for that. And we could actually summarize the question in 2 words: setting limits. In other words, it tells the parent, be strong and don't give up the fight to reach your goal. And so, ensuring that our treasure indeed eats all kinds of food will be the very practical topic of this video, so that your heart never bleeds again when you say no. Now, I know my child is unique, and how do you know what is the problem? Perhaps, but after 25 years of hearing the same stories with these little toddlers, and actually having had to face it with my own kids, I can tell you that there is a pattern here. The pattern is kids need limits. And when we don't face it properly, many problems happen. Okay, back to the broccoli and the fight around the table. So, what do you do when he refuses to eat? Well, he wants his milk or yogurt. There you go. You don't want that he goes hungry, and therefore you allow him to fill his stomach with whatever he likes. You feel better, and he's happy after getting what he likes most. But you have then created 2 problems. First, he could get something you had actually good reasons to refuse him as a parent, and so the stage is set for further breach of authority in the home, with sometimes dangerous consequences. Which then leads us to point 2. On the long term, habits of eating only one thing can lead to poor nutrition, of course, and then the next time the same thing will happen again. So here is a typical situation, but there are many variations on that same theme. A toddler is around the table with food in front of him. She would then proceed to finish up the pasta, leaving anything green on the side, or rather outside of the bowl. Then she would decide that she had enough. Dear, you need to finish your vegetable. Nah. Now, if there were lots of pasta or rice in the bowl, I mean the things that she likes most, she will then probably want to go and play, as she might just be full for now. On the long term, this may lead to constipation because no vegetable, or iron deficiency because of no meat. Other kids, perhaps younger, have decided that they don't want anything except milk or yogurt or biscuits. Other kids only drink juice as a source of energy. Yes, I have seen that also. The problem is the same, as in effect the diet is not diversified, leading possibly then to malnutrition. Often iron deficiency is actually the obvious problem that we will find. Now, as I have suggested before, this is all related to one question: the issue of setting limits, which is of course our responsibility as parents, because no one else is going to do that for us. Setting limits implies from the parents an ability to say no when necessary, of course, as hard as it may seem for the child, who of course will not easily agree. A child who may then cry and make all sorts of contortions, often on the grounds, to get what he wants. In reality, it is important at that stage to realize that although kids resist a change that we want to impose them because we think that the change is good for them, kids can in fact change their problematic habits. But the change implies for the child to go through a kind of mourning process, which in turn takes some time. And the typical time for a child to change a habit is actually a few days, perhaps 3 to 4 days. It means that when we want to change a habit, there may be a struggle for about 3 to 4 days. And during that time, we should certainly make sure that we hold firm against their tentative tyranny, so that they get to understand basically who is the boss. This will not hurt the child, and on the contrary, it will make her more secure, as she knows she has then a consistent structure around her. It will also help ensure that life at home doesn't become a mess, so that we have actually time and mental space, as I like to call it, to do more constructive and interesting things with our kids. Now, practically, what should we do if she refuses to eat what we have prepared for her? First, we need to keep in mind that what we have put on the table is indeed the dinner or lunch meant to be eaten, and nothing else. Second, that if he doesn't want to eat what has been served to him, then no problem. It's his decision. A decision that will have consequences, of course, because he will go hungry until the next meal. And that means no pushing or forcing, but just respecting his decision not to eat. This is very important because being hungry for an otherwise healthy child is something very, very basic. And that basic feeling doesn't need to be learned. And so you can trust that if he doesn't eat, either he's not hungry or he thinks that he will not go hungry after not eating his lunch. It will be his decision, and he will learn the consequences of it. Well, he may actually have good reasons to think that he will not go hungry, for having learned, for example, that mom or dad would eventually allow biscuits or yogurt or bottle of milk to come to his rescue during the next few hours. And voila! He was then right to think that skipping the good varied meal on the table was a smart idea. Cool, but that was before, because from today, if you don't eat, my dear, you will be hungry for the whole afternoon. No milk, no biscuits, no yogurt to replace what you have refused to eat at noon. Hard, isn't it? Of course, because we are not monsters. We want to explain to them that we do that for their own good, and we will explain what will happen also if they don't eat, and we want to give them a second chance to, like, thinking about it for an hour. Some kids are actually really not hungry at the set time of the meal because they have snacked before or have had milk not long ago. So it is always important to consider that possibility, and to therefore ensure that they be hungry at mealtime, so that the possibility to enjoy the meal, which is very important, is actually there. So be always careful to think that food before the meal will decrease their appetite for the main meal, and indeed try to avoid that. But the idea is that although we say no, we should not fight with them, and we should rather let them decide themselves that they don't want to eat, so that they can then understand the consequences of their own decision. If he really doesn't want to eat what you meant to give him, he can go to play. That's it. Easy. Now, it is clear that at some point we will have some troubles, because in the previous social contract, she knew that there would be no hunger, as milk or whatever else is preferred would come to the rescue. But not this time. Sorry. Yes, beforehand, explanations are one thing, but facing your own decisions for real is another, as we adults all know. So you will have to console, explain, wait patiently that the crisis be over, and apologize to the neighbors. Here there's no neighbors, that's good. You will also have to make sure, of course, that you don't give the food that makes him full while not providing the desired safe variety. You will not give him the food that he likes best instead of the intended meal. From there could be some variation. You could, for example, decide to propose the same meal again, or give a light fruit meal and certainly water as desired. The idea being that when dinner comes, our little monster be hungry and has not received what he had desired most instead of the main meal. The same drama may of course happen at that very next meal, but then you would react in the exact same cold way. Because you will remember that this hard struggle will actually last for 3 or 4 days, and you should never give up and change your mind, because you want to win, and for good reasons. After that difficult time, she will know that the broccoli are not too bad after all. Now, when kids like only certain things, we want to be careful that they don't eat so much of it, so to become full with only the food that they prefer. So we should give at first only a little bit of that preferred food, which is usually pasta or bread or rice, together with a good deal of other foods that they like less. And that is because the preferred food are often full of energy and makes them full easily, so that after only a few bites they really are not hungry anymore. And nothing else can be reasonably proposed when we feel full. Fair enough. To avoid that situation, we would first give only a bit of rice or bread or pasta that they prefer, along with a good deal of vegetable, meat, or whatever other things that are less preferred. Once the pasta is then finished first, she will demand more of it without touching the vegetable or the fish. No problem, dear. Finish first the other stuff in your bowl and I will happily give you more pasta. Oh, you don't want? No problem, you can go and play. But be sure that complaining that you are hungry will be your problem until the next meal. Okay, before ending this video, I want to say a few words quickly about those kids playing or watching cartoons while eating. And that is a trick found by some parents, many actually, to ensure that the child eats what is intended. It may indeed work, but there can be a price to pay. First, the child is not involved in his meal and may also be eating without realizing that he's not hungry, which in turn could lead to overfeeding and have long-term consequences on his relationship with food. Second, eating when playing, especially if walking around, may pose an obvious choking risk to a young child. Third, the meal is one of those rare occasions when the family can be gathered, talk and interact, and the meal is then an important opportunity to learn, and to learn language in particular for a young child. And then a final word. If what is described here sounds familiar to you, you may also find that your child is reluctant to fall asleep and stay in bed, or that she throws herself on the ground and cries whenever you say no to her, or even that your 2-year-old demands milk in the middle of the night, a very bad idea for its ease. Well, these are all the manifestations of the same issue. Toddlers need limits set by their parents, and they will love us the better, precisely because we enforce these limits. All right, that's all for today. I hope it was useful and that you enjoyed the neighborhood of Great Wall. Ciao. Hey, vous êtes là? C'est bien?